Good evening, everybody. Welcome to this meeting of the Business Regeneration and Planning Overview and Scrutiny Committee. This is the last meeting of this current year. Okay. Normal procedure, evacuation procedures. We are not expecting an alarm to be sounded tonight, but obviously if there is, will you please make your way via the exit doors as quite clearly shown. If anyone requires any assistance, please let an officer know. This meeting is being recorded, but not for live transmission at this moment in time. There is an issue there, but it will be recorded and it will be available later on the council's website, or YouTube, if I should say. If there is a fire, if we have to evacuate, please assemble outside the Virgin Money building across the road. Please ensure that phones are turned off. Any other? We have then, where are we? Apologies. We have an apology from Councillor Watkins. We also have a substitution of Councillor Brown for Councillor Hartsell. Thank you very much. Yes, Councillor Kenner.
Councillor Hammersley. Thank you.
You should have before you the minutes of the previous meeting, dated the 10th of February. Everybody happy with those? Thank you, Councillor Keller. Proposed by Councillor Keller. Can we have a seconder, please? Thank you, Councillor Downs. I'll sign those off. Declaration of interests. Indeed, Councillor Brown.
Committee, my interests are not shown, but they are the ones that are printed in the schedule for every other meeting of the council.
Issues to declare as opposed to those are already listed in the schedule and the minutes of this meeting? No, we're okay with that. Thank you very much. Moving forward to item number 5. Public consultation. I don't believe we have any consultation. Anybody in the gallery, etc.? No. Thank you very much indeed. Question to the Cabinet. Item number 6. In the absence of Councillor Wilson, Councillor Smith is here, and hopefully, if he can't answer any questions raised, we will forward those to Councillor Wilson, who will then in turn respond. Do we have any questions for Councillor Smith at this moment? Councillor Condacor, thank you.
I've actually got a couple of questions for Councillor Smith and a couple for Councillor Wilson. I'll start with the Councillor Wilson ones first. In the paperwork that's coming out about the election from the Conservatives, it said they've secured £160 million of investment for projects in the Nuneaton regeneration. That's a figure I don't understand, so it might be useful if Councillor Wilson or maybe Councillor Smith, if he knows, could actually highlight where the £160 million comes from. Because I'm always concerned that some of it's actually borrowing and we haven't actually gained money, we're just spending our own money. So if that could either be answered by Councillor Smith or taken away for Councillor Wilson to respond. If I may, Chair, the second point from the election leaflet was about the dome hawk cameras. We quite often have things promised to be delivered, and we're very short of dome hawk cameras at the moment, so I wanted confirmation as to whether they've been procured but not delivered, not procured, or whether they're actually procured and delivered but they're hiding somewhere in the borough we don't know about.
Are you in a position to answer that, Councillor Smith, or do we like to pass it to Councillor Wilson?
I think pass it to Councillor Wilson. As far as I know, they're
Okay, thank you very much. I will then ask if we can ask Councillor Wilson to respond to those questions, please. Yes, Councillor Condacor.
I noticed that Warwick District Council is consulting on their net zero plans as part of their supplementary planning system. So they're going for a very ambitious scheme which will make developers either produce buildings that will be net zero, or actually, if they fail to do that, pay for things like planting of trees and things to do that. I'm very alarmed we're not doing the same in the Nuneaton and Bedworth. And so I wanted to ask Councillor Smith if he's looked at what they're doing in Warwick, and if we could consider doing something similar in Nuneaton, because we seriously need to get on the more energy efficient buildings roadmap. Thank you.
Warwick are doing. I'm quite happy to review that, and quite happy to have a conversation with you out of the committee to look at what they're doing and see if it's something we can. I'm perfectly happy to look at it. So maybe we can follow that up with a conversation.
Just in the county for some of our measures, even North Warwickshire seems to be fitting solar on warehouses now, so I'd welcome a meeting after the election and happy with your answer. Thank you.
Right. Any other questions directed to all the Cabinet member? No, thank you very much indeed for that. So we'll forward to item number 7 on the report. On the agenda, I should say the annual report from the activities of the Nuneaton Borough Council of the Coventry Warwickshire LEP. Now you should have a copy of that report. There a chance to have a look at it? I believe it's just information only as such. If there is any questions arising, unfortunately Councillor Wilson is the councillor on that committee, and so if there is any other questions raised out of it that we can't answer here, I'm sure Councillor Wilson will do so. Councillor Condacor.
To the next municipal year, because the LEP is really important. It works as a lot with business contacting and getting funding, and it was performing really badly 10 years ago, and it came to this committee and we kept asking questions, and I think it's got a lot better over the last 10 years in terms of serving the borough better, but I don't think we can scrutinise something without anyone here who can answer questions. So can I move that this gets deferred till the next meeting, or a meeting in the next municipal year? Thank you, Chair.
Vote on that one. We're happy to move that forward to the next meeting where we can get a representative here, and obviously Councillor Wilson, who is on the committee. Okay.
The question was, have you seconded it?
Oh yes, yes. Take a vote on that one. All in favour, yes? Okay, thank you very much, yes. Okay, that was item 7. Item 8, integrated performance report, third quarter. Obviously, as we know, it's a long report, and unfortunately there isn't an officer here to answer any questions. But again, if there is anything specific we want to ask, by all means do so, and we will get those questions raised and answers from the officer appropriate. Yes, Councillor Condacor.
Wednesday markets, because it says here there's 81 stalls on a Wednesday and 86 on a Saturday in Nuneaton. I was in the market yesterday and it was considerably less than that. I should have actually counted the stalls. But with the council being more generous with the payment terms, it may be there was 87, 86 or 81 paid for, but clearly we've got a lot less stalls than is indicated in this report. So I wouldn't mind some clarification as to whether, I know there's like tables that make up a stall and things, and I think we need to actually establish how many market traders are actually still trading on a Wednesday, because it did look very barren this week, unfortunately.
So you're
Page 23 of the report.
23. Yes. Yes, I see what you mean. We can check on that and see what the actual occupation or the take-up rate is and the occupation rate. And obviously one would look at, we can look at both Bedworth and Nuneaton. Anything else? Councillor Kenner.
Concerning the average time for planning applications, I understand it's increased significantly, and I understand the pressures that the Planning Department is under at the moment. I'm just wondering if we could have a word from officers or from anyone just on what work's being done to try and reverse this trend to bring down that that average time to process applications. Thank you.
You're correct. We will need to speak to Ashley Baldwin for that, and we'll get back to the committee. Thank you. Yes, Councillor Condacor.
Yeah, on that committee, because 7 out of the 8 Conservatives have given apologies, I think the timing of meetings around bank holidays, which people always poo-poo when I raise it to full council and cabinet, I think is something we need to look at, because if we have things delayed because of the timing of meetings and the timing of holidays and other events like elections, it really does add, in this case, 4 weeks to all those applications. I don't know why we've got such a vast number of councillors that suddenly can't make it, but we should have foreseen that, foreseen it, whatever the word is. And going forwards, we've got planning meetings on the Tuesday after August bank holidays. And we keep doing this, and I keep telling them it's far easier for the people who are going to a planning meeting for it not to be on the Tuesday after a bank holiday, but it also must be easier for the officers because they have to produce all the paperwork earlier because of the bank holiday. So I do think it's something that we should raise to get the timing right and the frequency right, because otherwise we have these needless 4 weeks, whether you want the application approved or declined. Just having a system with these delays in and everyone gets ready to go to a meeting, it doesn't happen, is a real pain. And the determination time for major application should be 13 weeks. And the top farm one has been 4.5 years. And quite a few of the other ones are in the year territory. So I think we do need to sort out whether it's a popular decision or unpopular decision. Getting our meetings cancelled and delayed is not helpful.
Condacor. Any other issues with the report? Councillor Brown.
The Condacor's alluded to earlier. Part of the issue here is that we set the timetable for meetings now for the following municipal year, but we don't know who are going to be members of the committees at this time because there are elections in between. Members stand down, members are not re-elected, new councillors are elected. And they come with commitments that they've possibly already entered into. So they may not be able to make a meeting, in all good consciousness. And for anybody to suggest on social media that there's some sort of conspiracy theory going on about this, it is just spreading fake news. So whilst I think we do need to consider carefully the timing of meetings, we do have to bear in mind that we're making decisions that are going to affect people 12 months hence, and people may not be here once those meetings come to fruition.
Yes, I agree with that. It is a difficult situation whereby the calendar is set so far in advance, and obviously, as you say, people do have commitments, and depending on the committee they are sitting on, whether that will influence them or not accordingly. Correct. Okay. I've got an issue here, a report to make to yourselves regarding commercial properties. I raised this at an earlier meeting with regards to the occupancy rate and the level of vacancies, etc., within commercial properties owned by both retail and industrial owned by the council. I've asked for an update, which I have received. From Officer Snowden with regards to retail properties, etc., within the borough that are vacant, council-owned and vacant. We have still properties within Bedworth, Congreve Walk, Kingsway House, Leicester Street, at the bus station, in Nuneaton and in Vernon's Road or Vernon's Lane in Nuneaton. But I can assure you today that work is being done on Kingsway House in Bedworth at this moment in well, not literally this moment in time, but during the daytime. So hopefully those properties there will be ready for rental purposes very soon. Yes, Councillor.
Properties like the old co-op, the spaces above the co-op, sorry, the old Woolworths, the spaces above the Woolworths, all the spaces around the co-op that we're doing as part of transforming Nuneaton, which we now own and are effectively now empty as well. And we don't seem to have a handle on what's happening to all those in terms of empties and voids. There was some comment about the downstairs at the Woolworths at the last cabinet, but all the various bits around the co-op that aren't being demolished and have been refitted, it'd be useful to have a list of the new properties that are vacant but have never been rented by the council effectively, because we have got a massive new property portfolio off the back of buying the co-op and the Woolworths. Thank you.
That. Any other issues or questions from the report? Okay, that's fine. Thank you very much indeed for that. Let us move forward. We have an item I raised. Come back 2 seconds. Here we go. Again, something we spoke about previously at a meeting was with regards to the Pspos. Now, I think, Richard, you have a handle on some of this? Well, it's just I asked for an update on the Pspos regarding how they're working out. If you could.
Yeah, there are 3 Pspos in question that we've raised recently. The first one to come into action was the begging in the town centres. That has been very successful. We're not getting any repeat problems with it. The Pspo for psychoactive substances was the next one to come into action. I've had no feedback on that whatsoever. We did seem to go through a period where there were a lot of canisters in parks, and that seems to have passed over a little bit now, so I don't think it's an effect of the Pspo, but we have it in place just in case. The main one that has just come into action is the Pspo on commercial car sales on the side of the highway. As soon as that was adopted, we issued a 7-day notice on all of the cars, and also a notice to an identified trader who was responsible for a bulk of them. And on the 7th day, I authorised action for enforcement, and the cars were removed before we could actually implement that. We're monitoring that on a daily, bi-daily basis, and at the moment it seems to be holding. There have been no recent instances of them appearing back on the street, so that seems to be working very well. Okay,
and then the last one is the consumption of alcohol in public places. Are we any comments on that one?
No comment. Exactly the same time as the begging, I believe, and yeah, it's enforceable, and we're not having any issues as far as I know.
Thank you, Chair. I know it's another committee that does the police matters, but it would be useful to keep an eye on those, particularly the alcohol one, because particularly like Sandon Park, we don't get people drinking in the middle of winter at Sandon Park, but as soon as the nice weather comes and we get to May, they're going to be coming across on various routes into Sandon Park, and it does become a big issue. So I hope we're not too complacent and we actually maybe have a chat with the police after a quarter or so and see if they've used them and if enough people, because a lot of the areas where people do drink, I don't know if we need to put more signage up for the alcohol and the psychoactive substances to actually make them easier to enforce. Thank you, Chair.
It was suggested at a previous meeting we set up a working party or working group to overview this. I'm not sure how the committee feels. Would that be appropriate? Any thoughts? Councillors? Councillor Condacor?
And see what happens, because particularly things like psychoactive substances, we might get nothing or it might be a problem. So it seems no point in reviewing it when you haven't actually effectively used it yet.
So if we have a report at the start of the new, shall we say, back end of the year, as per how we have now, to see where we're at, and if needs be, we can then set up a working party. Everybody happy with that? Okay, thank you very much. Item number 9 in the agenda, our annual report for business. Okay, that's basically an overview of what we had over the last year. We had a review, as you can see, for the vacant premises, properties. Councillor Condacor raised an issue regarding the properties available now in Nuneaton. Public space orders, we've looked at that again. Borough plan is something we need to look at again, but I believe that'll be scheduled for the next year. Any other questions on that? Indeed, Councillor Condacor.
It's a bit of a spreadsheet. Is the recommendations column, because this OSP seems to have made no recommendations for the whole year. And I think that's a bit disappointing when we've got actually quite a bit of work done looking at stuff, but we don't seem to have actually recommended anything. So maybe we should be more proactive at sort of getting some actions out of these meetings, which I think is partly a problem that we haven't got any officers here. So yeah, we haven't managed to scrutinise things because our ability to ask questions isn't very good when there's no one actually sitting in the table there to ask questions of. So, but I do want it noted that I'm disappointed we've had no recommendations from this committee, and maybe when we get into the borough plan a bit further next year, we can actually start being a bit more proactive in terms of recommending things, like I was saying earlier about net zero, etc. Thank you.
Any other comments? Okay, thank you. So item number 10, which is the forward plan for this committee, page 134 in your agenda. Any comments? No, thank you. Item 11, draft work programme. We spoke about a couple of items that we brought forward to the next meetings. I'm sure that Kelly will organise that and put that into the schedule. Would any other member of this meeting like to look at any other aspect that we could put into the programme? Councillor Condacor.
Jeff agreed to chat to me about the net zero and comparing our programme for climate change and mitigation, adaptation and prevention compared to other councils. I think it might be worth having that on the agenda next time or next municipal year, and maybe getting someone who's done it at one of the other councils to come over and tell us what they're trying to do in Warwick or North Warwickshire, and yeah, whether they think we should be doing the same, because I don't want Warwickshire to have different environmental standards if you build a house in Warwick to if you build it in Nuneaton or Atherstone. We should be trying to, at least in terms of energy efficiency, solar panels, etc., trying to be stealing their work effectively. So I think it would be useful to have it on our agenda. Thank you.
Can I ask Councillor Smith to look into that for us, please? Thank you very much indeed. Any other business?
Items. I would disagree with Councillor Condacor on that. We're not Warwick, we're not Leamington Spa, we're not Atherstone. I'd rather the council come up with its own policies without comparing us to vastly different boroughs and districts. I don't quite understand why we would compare ourselves to areas which are completely different from this borough, have completely different needs and completely different house building plans. I think Nuneaton Bedworth should try and stand up for Nuneaton Bedworth without trying to compare itself to other areas that don't really have that much in common with us environmentally. I just disagree with Councillor Condacor on his previous point.
Any other comments? Councillor Brown.
Councillor Condacor made a proposal. Did it need to be seconded and voted on?
Can I take thoughts on that? Councillor Smith, would you be happy to liaise?
Happy to liaise with Councillor Condacor on the net zero carbon plan and look at what other councillors are doing. Quite happy to give him that time and do that after the election. I'm not sure you necessarily need to bring it back to committee. He can suggest that after we've met if he wants, I would think.
Smith, I think we'll leave it at that point if you liaise with Councillor Condacor, and then we can take that forward if required. Thank you. Anything else? Okay, thank you very much indeed for your attendance at this meeting and the meetings throughout the year. Appreciate your time. Thank you very much. Good day.